I went, and I'll just never forget my first moment. I was 17 years old. I didn't want to go by myself, and so I drug my sister, who was still in high school. I drug her to this first Chi Alpha meeting. I was a good Christian girl, and so I had my Bible under my arm, and I went and I sat in the front row of this service, and there were about 80 students there that day, and there was just such a passion that I had not really seen from my age group. And I think the things that initially attracted me to this group was the fact that nobody made them attend. So here you had 80 people that were there because they wanted to be. Coming out of a church culture and a youth group, it seemed like a lot of parents were kind of making their kids come, and that was the culture I'd been a part of. And so the fact that everybody that was there wanted to be there, and there was an obvious mission, that the students were on mission, and I was very attracted to that. And I was very attracted to the fact that they were very academically astute, so they were, their academics were important, their spirituality, they were on mission. And I remember halfway through this service, I whispered to my sister, who was 16 years old at the time, I said, "Cindy, I think I have found my people." And I look back, as now I've been in Chi Alpha over 20 years, and I think, oh my goodness, that could have been my first prophetic word, because really Chi Alpha has become my people. But literally on my very first day, there was a connection, and I said to myself, I found my people. I thought for the next 4 years while I was in school, but Chi Alpha ended up being my people, and I have made a life mission out of the mission of Chi Alpha. Many years ago, as I was working in Chi Alpha, there came a strong call in my life, and the basic call was to lead this generation to the nations. And so my specific role within Chi Alpha over the last really 18 years has been about the nations, about going global, about expanding student vision for what they can do not only here but also globally. And so presently my role is working with our international students. These are students that are coming to study in America. Presently, there's over 800,000 international students that are studying in America. They represent the best and the brightest from their country, and yet we have the opportunity to reach them with the love of the gospel 24/7. And so my job is to oversee that and to infuse vision for reaching international students in our Chi Alpha ministries and even in the larger church community. And so that's my specific role right now. Well, our mission is reconciling students to Christ, transforming the university, the marketplace, and the world. And that could sound cliche or just a little statement, but it really, from the freshman that's been on campus and been part of the ministry for 2 weeks to somebody like me that's been a part for 22 years, I would say it resonates passionately that our mission is to see students come to know Jesus in fullness, come into relationship with Him, and then by doing that, transforming the university, because they're going to be reproducing themselves in others. The marketplace, they're going to be placed in the marketplace and then all over the world. And so I think there's something deep in the heart of every student and every staff person that Chi Alpha really has world-shaping and world-changing potential. And we mean that not in cliche, but in reality, and we see it happening as we see students being transformed. Well, as my role specifically is with international students, I'll speak a little bit more towards what we're doing with international students, because it is such a profound opportunity for us to reach the nations of the world right there on campus. And when they come to campus, the interesting thing, if you look at some of the statistics out there, most international students come on campus and they do not make an American friend, and oftentimes they're not in an American home. So they come to America, they get an education, but oftentimes the only picture of the God we serve is on the money that they use to learn Walmart and how to eat a Big Mac. And so we're deeply passionate in Chi Alpha to make sure that not only does every student, international student, have a gospel presentation, but that they have a friend, that we extend both American and Christian hospitality. Recently, I toured the Statue of Liberty, and I read on the bottom the little poem that says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your broken-hearted, yearning to breathe free." I thought to myself, that's not America anymore. We're not standing up saying, give us your tired, poor, yearning to breathe free. In fact, our borders are somewhat hard to get across, but yet we have 800,000 of these guests. And so for Chi Alpha, evangelism looks like really reaching out to these guests living among us. Some of the practical things we do is international students come to campus. They need an apartment. Sometimes we meet them at the airport. We help, it's about meeting felt needs, and so we'll meet them at the airport. We'll help give them rides to campus. We'll help find dorm rooms for them or apartments for them. Some of our campuses do furniture drives, and so they'll help international students get furniture, simple things as blankets. So just finding a way to love and serve international students, to form friendships with international students and really envelop them in our community, and through that really show Christ's love. Well, Chi Alpha is very committed to disciple making, and specifically with international students. We have students coming from these multiple countries, and it's important that when they go back to their country that they're able to really sustain and continue in their faith and really make disciples in their countries. So very early on, it's this process of raising up new leaders, imparting to them vision, imparting to them the kingdom, and then quickly allowing them to start leading in what capacity they can. And so with international students, sometimes we have to even be extra intentional. Even if an international student finds Jesus and says, yes, I want to start following Jesus, being intentional to find leadership positions for them so that they can start learning how to lead a small group, learning how to do one-on-one discipleship, and really being a part of that. So many of our groups are very intentional in that process. And it's very important for international students too to see internationals leading worship and in leadership positions. And so part of the discipleship is not just leading them to Christ, but also training them in how to be disciple makers and leaders in our community so that they can go back to their countries and continue to lead. I cannot imagine a more important investment than somebody could make, both financially and prayerfully. Any way you can get involved, it could be one of the most important investments you make in your life. Because when you think about what we do in Chi Alpha, we are touching culture like probably few ministries do. Just recently I was in a small group where I was sitting next to a young lady from Pakistan who is a Muslim, a young man from China who was an atheist, and we were talking about our faith journeys. And as they were sharing theirs and I was imparting my journey with Jesus, I thought to myself, where else but the college campus could I spend time with a young Pakistani woman and a young man from China and talk about faith and what it means to them and what it means to me, and in the concept of a loving community, of a family that Chi Alpha becomes to these students. And so what a better place to invest your money. You're really investing in the nations when you invest in Chi Alpha. You're investing in the end of the sphere of culture where politics emerge, our financial system emerge, our education system emerge, and we are having God-faith conversations and leading this next generation of leaders to know Jesus and to know what it means to walk with Him in every facet of life. So it's a well investment for your finances. We need your prayer. Chi Alpha needs to be uplifted every day. I think of our campus plant right now at Yale University, those campus missionaries that are walking that campus, those students that are walking that campus, and they're really facing the gates of hell as they're walking this campus, bringing the kingdom of God. And so I spend so much of my mornings praying specifically for Yale right now, knowing what those missionaries are coming up against. And so your prayer is so needed. So your financial support, your prayer, your love, your commitment, international student ministry. Man, you go find a campus and find an international student. 800,000, if you love Jesus, 800,000 of those students need an American friend, an American family. And many universities have host programs that Christian families can get involved in. And so we need to infiltrate the university. We need to love international students. I can't imagine doing anything else. I think as I shared my story when I was 17 years old, saying I have found my people, definitely I have found a family in Chi Alpha. And as a leader, as I interact with our student leaders on campus, because Chi Alpha really is a student-run ministry. And so as campus missionaries, as campus leaders, we're coming alongside students and seeing them really take ownership of their ministry. So I look at myself as a facilitator, and what I see in these students, I often say, I am looking at a Mary generation as I lead leaders right now. And what I mean by that is this generation, God is birthing things in them that, like Mary, nobody had walked her walk. And I see in the college generation and in college students, they are facing things that no generation has really ever faced or seen before. And yet God is doing such great things in the depth of their belly. And I can't think of anything better in a life to do than to come along a Mary and to say, okay, if you know the scripture in Luke 1 where it talks about Mary and Elizabeth, Elizabeth came alongside Mary and called out greatness out of her. And so as a leader, I can't imagine anything better than walking alongside a young generation of Marys where God is birthing great and deep things inside of them. And as an Elizabeth, coming alongside of them and saying, you can do this. I see what God is doing in your life, and calling it out of them. And as leaders in Chi Alpha, that's what we're doing. We're calling greatness out of this next generation. When Elizabeth interacted with Mary, it wasn't necessarily what she said, it was what she saw. And oftentimes when I'm working with college students, I'll be with them and I'll see something great inside of them. And I know if I can just see it and call it out of them, it will give them to courage to walk in their God calling. And that is a calling for me. And so I love walking with this generation. I love calling them. I love seeing in them what God's doing and calling out greatness. For those of you listening, thank you for joining this story, because reaching the university is a story that each of us need to join. Reaching international students on our campuses, loving the foreigner that lives in our land, is a story that each of us need to join. So thank you for listening, and I pray that it'll be more than listening, and it'll be a story that you can be a part of.
If you know of a ministry that we need to know about, please give us a call, 888-641-8606, or take a look at our website, revelationstv.org.